All right. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Educator's Voice. I am your host, Frederick Keenan, and I am privileged and honored to have a special guest with me tonight, Mr. Lyman Dawkins from Gaffney, South Carolina. And I will not go into any bios about Mr. Dawkins at all. I will allow him to talk about that once we get into the discussion. So thank you for showing up and doing this for me, man. I really appreciate it. I know your schedule is busy. So I appreciate you stopping by. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Lyman Dawkins. Yes, sir.
Shout out to you, man. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for creating a platform like this for educators
Yeah,
and provide a safe place for educators to have a voice to share their opinions and things and whatnot. So shout out to
sure.
you and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So again, I skipped the bio because one of the first things I wanted to start off with as we start the discussion is tell us and tell the audience about your current position. Like, what are you doing right now? The work that you're doing now. I alluded to it, I think, a little bit that you're from Gaffney, South Carolina. But tell us a little bit about your current position, what the work you're working on right now. So talk to us about that.
Got you. The principal at Gaffney Middle School
Okay.
here in Gaffney, Turkey County School District. I've been in education. This is coming up on my ninth year in
Okay.
education. Um, and I'm in my third year serving as the principal at Gaffney Middle School. At Gaffney Middle, we're right around 900 students. So we're a large
Wow.
middle
Yeah, that's a big school.
school, the second largest middle school in the district. Sixth, seventh, eighth grade. So we're going to our third year. We're excited. School starts here in a couple weeks. Teachers come back next week, next Thursday.
Hmm.
So we're gearing up.
Okay. Now, I didn't mention this, but talk to us about the fact that right now you are running for mayor of Gaffney, South Carolina. Talk to us about that and share a little bit about how that's going with you.
Well, yeah, I'm running for mayor. We're currently right now. I'm actually on county council.
Okay.
I served on Cherokee County Council. Been on there for 7 years now. I ran for a seat for Mr. Rufus Foster. He had been serving for over 30 years.
Mm.
He passed away, so there was a special election. So I ran for that seat. I won that seat out of five candidates. Won on the first round. Had over 65% of the votes
Hmm.
in that, and so now I'm going to step down from there and actually going to run for mayor. The mayor of the city. Feel like there's needs to be some change here in
Sure.
Gaffney.
Sure.
Gaffney has a lot of opportunity, a lot of growth coming.
Hmm.
Uh, I think they're approved for like close to 2,000 houses to be built here within the city, and so that's going to bring a lot of opportunities and things of that nature. So yeah, election day is on August the 13th. Been
Okay.
out, on doors, talking to folks, talking about my platform and things of that nature. So yeah, now
Okay.
we're running for mayor. So and I'm out in the educational field, also in local politics as well.
Good stuff. So good luck in that. I'm pulling for you. I don't live in Gaffney, obviously, but if anybody deserves the job, I think you do. So I'm pulling for you. And if I could vote for you, I would. But I don't live over there. So keep us posted how
Appreciate it.
that goes. Yeah, yeah. Keep us posted how that goes. So now that we know what you're doing now, your current position and what your work is now, take us back a little bit to maybe your upbringing in Gaffney. So what was that like? How did you eventually aspire to become an educator and now a potential mayor of the city that obviously that you grew up in? That's got to be pretty profound. So back up a little bit and tell us about your upbringing and stuff like that. What led you to this point?
So wow. So growing up in Gaffney, I'm the son of Lyman Dawkins Jr. and Benita Dawkins. Those are my parents. I'm the oldest of two.
Hmm.
Um, so it was me and my younger sister growing up, and growing up here in Gaffney. It was pretty good. We was middle class. Two working parents in the house. My parents got divorced when I was in fifth grade. So
Hmm.
growing up, it's probably the typical, black household where school was a priority. You
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
come in the house with D's and F. C's was not a thing in the household. So
sure.
my parents, they both went to college. Neither one of them graduated from a four-year institution. My dad actually started out at USC down in Columbia, and that's actually where I was born. I was
Hmm.
actually born in Columbia in Richland County, and I moved back to Gaffney when I was two. My dad graduated from Spartanburg Community College with associate's degree.
Okay.
Uh, where you work, and my mom went to Spartanburg Methodist College. And so, grew up, like I said, education was a priority. Big in church, family based,
Hmm.
faith based family. Both of my grandfathers were deacons for a long time in the church. And so growing up, played sports, growing up in the church, seeing a lot of different things. One thing I did notice growing up that a lot of my peers here in Gaffney didn't have the same household that I had.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
like I said, in fifth grade, my parents were divorced, but my dad still lived in Gaffney. Was always part of my life. I saw him, multiple times in a week, whether it was at football practice, games, or just popping up at the house, just checking on us and things of that nature. But no, being in school and things, talking to your peers and noticing, as you get older, so you noticing things like clothes, behaviors and things of that nature. And you're talking about, I can't do this because mom's going to get me or dad's going to get me, and hear my peers, not reciprocate some of those type of things um, started resonating with me a little bit. By the time I got to high school, got with a closer group of guys that was kind of like-minded, like myself. I always knew I wanted to go to college. I always knew I was going to college.
Hmm.
Wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to go to college. So it was about five or six of us that kind of pushed each other and kept each other on the right track going through high school. In high school, played baseball, football, and basketball. So athletics has always been a part of my life, and I learned a lot of life skills, you
Yeah.
know, through that piece as well. The biggest influence on my life was my mother. When I was five, she had a kidney transplant, so she was sickly a lot in my upbringing. So she was in and out of the hospital a lot of late night hospital visits. So I have a kind of a trauma with going to the hospital. I'm not a big fan of hospitals
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was a large part of my upbringing, being in hospitals and watching my mom hurt and things of that nature. But one thing that always stuck out to me is even though she was always, like I say, sick or in pain, she was always witnessing to other people.
Yeah.
She never complained. Beautiful lady on the outside. When I say gorgeous, beautiful lady, everybody's talking about how beautiful she was. But she was even more beautiful spiritually and as a person of how she
Hmm.
treated people. I always never met a stranger, and like I said, she always through those conversations um, end up going back to witnessing, people about Jesus Christ. So that's another big thing that always stuck out to me, and it end up later on playing a big part. So I end up going after high school, graduating, going to Coastal Carolina. That was during the time when they were starting their inaugural team. Walked onto the football team, was part of that team, and that was in 2002. So I was down there for about 2 years, and then in 2004, my mom passed.
Wow.
She passed of breast cancer. So in 2004, I ended up moving back to Gaffney to help take care of my younger sister. I was 19 at the time; she was 15 at the time, and so we moved into the house together. And I kind of, had to grow up pretty fast from that
Mm.
point. It went from being big brother to kind of taking on the father role. So from that point, I'm trying to dib and dab, trying to figure out life.
Hmm.
Mom passed, dad is still, there, but I'm still trying to figure out, my path and my future as a person and things of that nature. So, started working locally, had a job at BMW, working at the local Yellow Mall, bounced around from job to job, making money, but not being spiritually, satisfied or having even a purpose in life. So I'm bouncing around from job to job. My sister ended up going to the Navy. And so she went off to Virginia. So I felt like, that job was done, taking care of her and getting
Hmm.
her, graduating and set out straight with no babies, anything here in Gaffney.
Right.
Um, and so I started working a job at a chemical plant. And I was probably around 26, 27, making great money there for a couple of years. And all of a sudden, get called out of HR one day, and I'm fired. I'm let go.
Mm.
Uh, and so that hit me like just with a ton of bricks. I mean, it just came out of nowhere, just like that. And I'll never forget that day. I left work, went to my dad's house, and sit on the front porch, and just crying like a baby. Like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. What direction I'm going to go in. And I never forget. He told me, this was an opportunity to kind of find your purpose
Yeah.
in life. Kind of veered away. I always been, spiritually grounded during that time. My mid-20s started kind of veering away from God, not having that relationship that I had. He handed me a book, and it was about David, and told me to read that book. And so I got into that book, and it really, spoke to me and resonated with me. So I started back, seeking, just seeking God's word, trying to find Him, and trying to find, where I needed to go. And the crazy thing, man, for about 9 months straight, I was trying to find a job and couldn't find a job
Mm.
locally. And
Mm.
I had that problem, a day in my life. I would wake up at 7:30 like I was getting ready for work, put on some khakis, put on a polo, and just go fill out applications. I was doing that literally for 9 months straight and couldn't get a job. And I'm like, what's going on, Lord? Why I can't find a job. Finally got a call back to a job from a staffing agency. They was paying little to nothing. Started working that job. Then I got a call to another place. I would leave that job to go get paid like $1.50 more, and another job. Left that job to go to another, and I ended up at a chemical plant, Ariga Polymers in Spartanburg. Got hired on there. I was there for about 2 months, and I was working actually in um, the chemical part of the plant.
Mm.
And then job came open in a chemical lab, and so I only been there for like 3 months. So I applied for that job. Ended up getting an interview. Went well. I got that job. But that job, and the reason I wanted that job hours was from 7 to 3, 7
Mm-hmm.
7 a.m. 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that job. It was straight first shift, great hours, because I was working swing shift at first, um, 12 hours, and then I was working, 4 weeks on first, then I worked for 4 weeks on third. So this one gave me some straight shifts hours. So during that time, I'm working at the chemical lab. Before my mom passed, I made a promise to her that I would, graduate
Mm-hmm.
from college. So
Mm-hmm.
this is starting to come back to me, and I'm like, I still, even though it's years later, I'm like, I gotta, fulfill this promise to my mom. And I started researching, looking for local colleges, and I came across Limestone. And the thing that stuck out to Limestone was two different things. Number one, they had night classes. I could go to school
Mm-hmm.
at night. I could
Uh-huh.
still work full time and go to school at night. And then they had the Carbon Mister program. I found out about the Carbon Mister program. They had just started up. I think they was in their second year. Um, so I fill out the application, get a call back from Dr. Myers. I go do an interview with Dr. Myers, and got into the comprehensive program. Got hooked up down at Limestone. So I would work from 7 to 3. Class would be from 6 to 9 at night. And jump back head first into education. I mean, back into school. Became an elementary education major.
Mm.
Um, and once I got to call me Mister, it changed everything for me. Changed my
Yeah.
whole perspective. So
Yeah.
at this time, I'm a little older. I'm about 20, 28 years old, and I'm there with 18-year olds, 19-year
Mm-hmm.
olds, 20-year olds. And I'll never forget the first fall summit that we went to. Copper Mister had down at
The
College of
summer
Charleston.
the summer leadership
No,
conference.
this one they used to have one in the spring and the fall as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't realize that. Okay.
So a fall summit, a summer summit, and a spring summit as well.
Okay.
This was like the spring summit they had in down at the College of Charleston. So we go down there, and I walk into the big ballroom, and I'm looking around and I'm amazed. It's like it's a room full of African
Yeah.
American young
Yeah.
males,
Mm-hmm.
suits, suits and ties, shirts tucked in, and they're all reading this mission, this vision statement, this mission statement. And
Yeah.
I'm looking around and I'm in awe because I'm coming from Gaffney, where You either, go to college to play sports, you either selling drugs, or you working at the plant. You know what I mean? And not you don't see a lot of young black males doing positive things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so when I walk in the room, I see all these young guys doing this, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And they had a panel of misters that just graduated. They was teachers, and one of them was a professor, and one of the misters that was on that panel just won District Teacher of the Year, and it was Marquise Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm up there, and Marquise is up there talking about his past and things of that nature. And you know, I went back to school to be a teacher, but I didn't know that. I never thought about my potential of being the teacher of the year or how great you could be as a teacher. I just want to go be a teacher, maybe make an impact, maybe not, whatever. Just trying to feel my way through it. But once I got in the College of Ministry, it talked about, you know, the power inside, the power of your story, the power of who you are, just the impact that you can really make. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing these black men up here that started where I am or younger. Now they're professors, district teachers of the years, principals, assistant principals. And I'm like, wow, okay, I can't, I mean, it ain't enough just to be a teacher. Like, I can be great at this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these
Mm-hmm.
guys are great. And it was very, I'm telling you, it was probably the most inspiring, it was the most inspiring event I had ever been to at that time in my life.
Yeah.
And I left that summit. It was on a Saturday and a Sunday. I left that summit with, filled with so much joy and so much motivation and inspiration. And so get back to Limestone, and I'm busted it. I mean, I'm got an A in every class now. Really getting at it, really buying into the Mister program and what it can do for you, and all those type of things. So it comes time for me to do my student teaching. Dr. Myers told me I got to quit my job and got a student teacher. I'm like, how am I gonna pay my bills?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about it.
I got a student teach. Like this
Yeah.
ain't like these ain't it ain't like I'm living in a dorm and I'm going to eat down here at the cafeteria and all of that. Like I got a house with bills and a car payment and
Mm-hmm.
lights and cable bill and phone bill and I'm
Mm-hmm.
grown this time. Um, but again, just the way God was working, man. I had met my wife. I had met my now wife at the time. She was my girlfriend. We had just been dating probably 8 months, 8 or 9 months. And I'm telling her, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And this time she was like, "Listen, I got you. Don't even worry about it. I got you." And I'm like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, I got you.
Wow.
Like, I pay for the bills. You need some money. I got you." Like she was a young, single, black female working like 2 jobs just because she was a hardworking female, and she held me down
Wow.
uh, from August to November. For those months, she held me down, and so then also the crazy part about it again how God works. I'm in Gaffney at Limestone. I could have been put with any other teacher in Cherokee County. Dr. Myers hooked me up with Marquise Clark. He was my cooperating teacher. So that's who I did my student teaching under. And again, that was the best thing that could ever happen to me in my life was being up under his tutelage, under his mentorship. So I never forget the first day I walked into, the Cleveland Academy of Leadership, and I walk into his classroom and I'm watching how he's interacting with these second graders. Um, he has those kids. And it's all black kids in this class, 100%. Minorities, and they're getting out of it. They're going.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Mm-hmm.
getting 85, 90%, proficiency passing rate in his class. And he sat me down. He was like, "Look, we can do this two ways. We can check the boxes and get you through, or we can make you better. However you want to handle this, we can do it." I'm like, "No, I want to be good at this." He was like, "Okay, that's what we're gonna do." And so I teach my first lesson, and he sat me down. He was like, "Man, that was horrible. That was awful." And I'm like, "Hey," and I'm already intimidated. Again, he's a district
Yeah.
teacher. He's getting all these scores. Um, and he tell me that, but I appreciate his honesty. And from that point on, he poured everything into me. But a lot of times, man, you can get with people who say they want you to succeed, but their whole thing is
Sure.
back. They
Mm-hmm.
only give you
Mm-hmm.
enough. They're scared that you're going to surpass them, or you
Mm-hmm.
might be better than them. So they're only going to feed you, you know, so much. But he opened up everything, man. We would be there to 7 o'clock, you know, sometimes at night, just talking
Wow.
about life. And so it went from, you know, him just being a mentor educationally. And the thing about it, I was a couple years older than him. And so, you know, we would talk about, you know, of course, education and instruction, being an instructional leader, pedagogy, classroom management, all those things. But then we would talk about life as black men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And me and him, we would have, you know, conversations about politics. And I was so intrigued and amazed by him, by his mind, though, for being such a young. I told him he's the oldest young soul that I know. You know,
And he
he's a
definitely
young
he
man, but he
yeah,
has
he
an
he
old soul, and he's very sharp,
listen,
very
he is
smart.
definitely an old soul, no
Yeah,
doubt about it, an old soul. For those that don't know Marquise Clark, he's actually going to be one of my guests as well, coming on the show. But he is definitely an old soul. Let me interject something here because you said something that I cannot let pass by. Right, I cannot let this pass by because you got to talking about the Mister program, right? And one of my questions is going to get into education, which is what we're here to talk about. But I don't think people understand, and I too, like you, experienced Mister for the first time one summer Leadership Institute, and I can remember, like you, walking into this room in this auditorium or whatever you want to call it, and seeing 100 black young 18 to 22-year-old men who are like on fire for education. And
right.
I don't think Mister gets enough accolades of the fact that they are, in my opinion, and probably yours too, they are the answer to the problems of education.
Yes.
When you create a Mister, and then that Mister, because people don't, maybe they don't know this, but Mister is an acronym that stands mentors instructing students toward effective role models. And what it teaches them at a young age, which is what Marquise did for you, not only did he mentor the students in the classroom, but then he turned around and mentored another Mister. And now look at you today because of his mentorship, right? So the power of Mister is so profound. I don't think people, this, again, we're not trying to have a discussion about Mister. Obviously, that's not our topic, but I cannot let that pass by for people to have to understand that that is the difference of this educational piece that we're talking about. If we can get Misters in the classroom, I'm telling you, they're going to change the game. And I don't think people understand that.
No, you're spot on with that, man. You know, Mister, like you said, it only talks. Not only is it about the educational piece of it, about bringing your experiences as a black, you know, black male in the classrooms, the power that you have inside, but the other piece you was talking about with Marquise was the brotherhood. You know
Yeah,
that's a key component, pillar of Mister is that brotherhood, and Marquise embodied that from day one of then pouring that into me, and it helped making me stronger, which again I can go back and pour into other ministers, and
for
which,
sure.
you know, that happened because you know, after I graduate from Limestone, come to Mr. Program, actually being the first graduate, me and Mr. Spear,
Hmm.
we were the two first graduates from Limestone from the Mr. Program. We go there and I go into the classroom. My first year, I get hired at Gennard Middle School, so I'm teaching, you know, middle school science. And my first year in the school district, I get induction teacher of the year, so first year teacher of the year for the school district, not
Hmm.
only for school but for the district wide. And so that was very motivational as well to say, hey, I'm on the right path. You know, God, you put me where I think where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
Uh, and so I started having that early on success, and just the stories and the interactions I'm having with students in my classroom, because I brought myself into the classroom, you know, authentically. You know, I'm authentic myself day in and day out. So I'm wearing, you know, I'm wearing my suits because that's who I am as well. I'm wearing my tie, my suits, but I'm wearing the sneakers as well. I created a brand called Learning is Lit. And with that brand, it was just all about that connection, being culturally relevant and connecting with my kids in the classroom. So it's bringing their culture into the classroom. And when I did that, I started having even more success with my students because I was able to connect content, you know, to the culture. And so once you were able to do that, I was able to, you know, phenomenally teach my kids, and we was able to take off from my second year on. We took off, so I only taught 3 years into the classroom. Um, And then another thing with even Marquise, Marquise, one day I remember talking, in education, the only way to get money is to get more education, to
Yeah,
get
exactly.
degrees. And
Exactly, for sure.
so, my first year in the classroom, me and my wife, we get married. I have my child. And so I'm starting a family, but I'm operating on the first year teacher salary. And I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, okay, it's about $32,000, $35,000 at the time.
Yeah.
It's a little different now. They're almost at 50,000 now. Um, and so I'm like, I got to go back to school to get my master's. And one day Marquise was like, I'm in school with this girl. She's getting two masters at one time. And he just mentioned that to me, but that planted the seed.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, again, if she can do it, then I can do it. And
Hmm.
so I applied to Anderson University to get a master's in teaching. So that was online. I can get my master's in 1 year. And so I got accepted there. I started there. Then I reached out to Converse um, College to get my EDS in administration and supervision. But to get into that program, you're supposed to already have a master's. And so I contact the dean of the graduate program. Like, hey, I've been accepted to the master's program. I just started. I don't have a master's yet, but I would like to get my EDS. And she was like, we've never had anybody even try to do this or anything. But she said, we'll let you in on a probation period only. She said, we'll let you take one class. If you make an A in that class, and then we'll go from there. And that's all I needed was opportunity.
Yeah,
Uh,
most definitely.
and so I did that, and I aced the class. And so now I'm on my way of getting two masters in one time in my second year of teaching. And so we do that. I get my after that year, I get my master in teaching from Anderson. Then 2 years later, I get my EDS in administration and supervision. So then I'm well on my way to get into admin. So after my third year teaching, I started applying to assistant principal job. I got a job at a local elementary school. Um, I
So it
get
only
that.
took you, so you only spent 3 years in the classroom before you got into administration.
Yep, yep. I only spent 3 years in the classroom, but I did that. But that came. The reason I was able to do that because I was able to have success in the classroom. I
Yeah.
don't think a principal would have took a chance on me if I would not have had that success. And also, and one thing I always tell other educators in the classroom, my kids was my billboard.
Hmm.
One of my biggest goals was every day I would want my kids to go home, and when they got in the car, parents like, "Hey, how was your day?" I wanted them to talk about the time they had in Mr. Dawkins class, and that's what they did. Whether it was white, black, or whatever, girl, boy, we had a great time, and kids used to love coming to my classroom. Not only, of course, not because of the content, because of the overall experience that we had in the classroom.
Yeah.
I was no nonsense, but we had
Hmm.
fun, and
Yeah.
I truly try to make fun, learning fun as possible, and that resonated, with the kids because I always had a mindset. I always thought about myself being in middle school, how I just went to school because I had to go to school.
Hmm.
Didn't enjoy it. I never saw myself in the classroom. I never saw my culture in the classroom. I never saw my teacher never wore the shoes that I like or sung the songs that I liked. I made reference to the shows that I watched, the movies that I watched. And so that's what I tapped into with my students.